6 p.m. in Kolofata and same time in Kumbachi, that is in the southwest region of Cameroon. Good evening, dear viewers of Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. The 39th edition of the International Women's Day is being celebrated in Cameroon today amidst cases of femicide, rape, and other human rights violations that continue to be meted on women and girls. Commemorated under the theme, Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, civil society actors urge women to sit up and fight for their rights while reminding them that it's government's prime responsibility to protect women, including the entire citizens of the nation. Away from that, tonight we'll also bring to you the thrilling and fascinating stories of 3 women who are breaking unwritten protocols in a male-dominated field. And out of Cameroon, we'll also tell you how 280 Nigerian school pupils have been abducted in the northwestern town of Kuriga. The pupils were on the assembly ground at about 7:30 a.m. when dozens of gunmen on motorcycles stormed the school premises. The students between the ages of 15 were taken away alongside some of their teachers. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Thank you so much for staying with Equinoxe TV. You made the right choice. Littoral Governor Samuel Dubois has called on women to remain optimistic, as many of them have been appointed to head key positions in the country. Samuel Dubois was speaking as he chaired the ceremony marking the International Women's Day this Friday in Douala. He also appreciated the positive results that have been obtained this women's advocacy. Smajikan Gabriel reports.
It is all over here at the ceremonial ground here in Beseke, Douala, where the 39th edition of the International Day for the Woman was celebrated with a lot of pomp and pageantry. It was presided at by the #1 man of the region, Samuel Dubois. The governor who took part in the celebration was keen and listened to all of the messages from the women. And one of the key messages that the women sent forth to the governor is the states have not actually kept them in key positions of the country.
As a woman, there's a lot of challenges. Not having any governor as a woman, for example, those are our challenges. We don't have much women as SDO. Fact that have to be considered. We have to give more places to women.
In the course of the event, we had a lot of recognition that was given to some women who have shown themselves as key actors in different fields of discipline in a littoral region. Immediately after the award ceremony, we had a march past that took more than 2 hours, and it saw the participation of all of the women from every walks of life who came out to celebrate their day, a day which is set aside for them to actually give their own worries to the state.
Appealing our women, our sisters, our aunts to be aware of all the development that we have today. We have the technological progress that is helping them to be fit and to even tackle some problems that men used to face.
Celebrated under the theme Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, the Women's Day for this year's edition is over, and everyone is hoping that in the years to come, women will be given that opportunity they have always been expecting by the government. Josiane Gok, Smart Nchikan Gabriel, at the Beseke ceremonial ground for Equinoxe Television News.
In the same vein, the celebration of the Women's Day in Douala this Friday was faced with the presence of men who were putting on the Women's Day fabric. Why are these men actually putting on the Women's Day fabric is a question a reporter of Smajikan Gabriel asked some of them at the Beseke ceremonial ground. Details in this report.
The sidelines of the 39th edition of the International Day for the Women in Douala, some men were spotted putting on the Women's Day fabric, which was specially made for the women on this day. For the men, it's right to accompany the women on this special day.
We support women because women and men, we are together. We are only support them because we are the mom, our colleague is our sister, our auntie, our grandmother, our mother. We are together up to now and ever.
First, a woman is the cradle of mankind, and in everything that a woman does, the man is supposed to support her, because behind a great woman, there must be a great man. For a woman to be successful in life, she has to be always accompanied by a man. Apart from putting on the women's fabric, some of the men were spotted marching with their women, and they say it is a culture for them. Generally, in our workspace, we have the habit of supporting our women. We don't have to allow our women to move alone. That is why we came out to give them our support, even as we are few. Though many saw it as something odd, the men who turned out to support their women say it's worth it being by the side of these ladies.
The ongoing armed conflict in Anglophone Cameroon is said to have increased the number of cases of violence meted against women. In Limbe, as part of activities of this year's International Women's Day, the UN-accredited gender decks of the Limbe Central Police, together with the Police Women Association, have carried out gender-based violence sensitization campaign. They urge women to denounce such acts. We have details with our Limbe correspondent, Davison Maimo.
Unlike in the past, where their participation during the International Women's Day was limited to marching during the D-Day, for the very first time, female police officers of the Limbe Central Police Station and the Limbe Police Women Association, led by the head of the accredited UN gender-based violence desk, 3rd grade police superintendent Vondo Katrine and colleague 2nd grade police superintendent Elimbi Rebecca Lemunga, carry out a series of education and sensitization campaign on gender-based violence crimes against women.
Gender-based violence doesn't mean that because they have to assault or they beat somebody. If you don't give food to your children or you don't educate your children, that's violence. You see, these are crises, these are two zones, Northwest and Southwest, not forgotten of the far north about Boko Haram. You see that women and their child are the ones suffering. It doesn't mean that men too are not suffering.
The Limbe Central Police Commissioner Jean-Pierre Yebe says the gender-based violence desk does not just protect the vulnerable, but most importantly, women and children.
For us, the first investment on women is to provide them security and protection against those gender-based violence, which all the laws of our country condemn.
Social expert Kwele Jerry says the gender-based violence desk has greatly enforced the work of the welfare unit at the Delegation of Social Affairs.
This arm of the police now should be reinforced by the government and the Ministry of Social Affairs.
Their activities included a sport walk, a visit to Save the Children Alliance orphanage used by the police, and a visit to some schools where the pupils and students were educated on the danger of drug consumption and violence within the school milieu, not leaving out an open talk with other women groups on the role of the gender-based violence desk at the Central Police Station.
And while most women find interest in celebrating Women's Day every March 8, others snap and carry out the activities normally. Speaking to some women in Douala, the advanced government silence on cases of femicide, rape, discrimination on women, to mention but these. Innocent Aze compiled their different reasons in this report.
March 8 celebration makes no sense to some women who consider it as totally useless and prefer to go about their daily activities.
La fête du 8 mars, ça ne m'intéresse pas.
Women's Day celebration does not interest her because of the sufferings the woman faces in Cameroon. Today, the woman plays the role of the man. She works to support the man, feeds the family. As a vendor, business is bad because of high prices.
Voyez le marché, il n'y a même pas le marché. Les choses sont chères.
To another woman, the government's silence on the chronic rates of femicides in Cameroonian cities does not warrant any celebration of Women's Day. The child who was raped and killed in Yaoundé and her elder sister who was raped in Yassa and decapitated in her room have not been served justice. She sees no reason celebrating March 8.
Ça ne sert à rien si vraiment l'État ne fait pas la justice.
A contrary reason is advanced by this lady.
Égalité de sexe.
That persistent gender inequality and limited or no action to bring about equality in Cameroon kills her desire to celebrate Women's Day.
Il n'y a pas d'égalité de sexe.
These and other reasons account for their boycott of this day reserved for women. Despite the femicides, rapes, abuses, torments, and the discriminations women encounter, life moves on for some. She says the celebration would have made sense to her if women could assemble, protest, and decry all the societal ills they face. These women add, affording Women's Day fabric is waste of resources on irrelevant things in a tough Cameroonian economy. Such equals to starving the family and enriching the rich, thus recommending the manner of celebrating Women's Day be revised.
In a similar story, women have been urged to take the lead in all spheres of influence to foster the peace and agenda status. The call came from panelists of a roundtable discussion within the framework of the International Day of the Rights of Women. Babila Jonathan tells us more.
Here brainstorming on the role of women in the consolidation of public peace in Cameroon. Ideas and opinions being expressed at this roundtable discussion at the Ministry of Territorial Administration point to equal consideration for both men and women. For this to be possible, the prefect of the Mefuanakono division, Antoinette Zongo, thinks that women at all levels must have self-confidence. Panelists underscore the point that women should take the lead.
Leaders should be good communicators. If leader doesn't comment or doesn't communicate well, to have difficulty among his or her team, especially for women. They should know how to negotiate. They should know how to negotiate because it's often said that women are less assertive in negotiation. They should go to drilling skills or skills that will help them be able to negotiate. Women also have a problem of visibility. This visibility makes them stay or shy behind. They should come out of this by coming out with a brand. This will make them known, or projects that will carry them in front.
Emphasis is also laid on the important role women as mothers play in the education of children and the society at large.
And now, in the report coming up next, we shall discover a young lady, an internally displaced from the Northwest region, who is a truck repairer here in Douala. She will tell us about her challenges on the field and how she has been able to defy gender stereotypes. Our reporter Malaglari was in Bonaberi, Douala 4 subdivision, and she talked to Modest Tomfor, and now she reports.
It's a warm afternoon in a local company in Bonindale, Douala 4. Modest Tomfor is repairing a truck. She hails from the northwest region of Cameroon. The ongoing crisis in that part of the country brought her to the littoral region. While in Douala, Modest has taken on the role of a trained repairer, determined to defy gender stereotype.
But it's just normal for me because I consider it as a normal daily job that anybody can do. It's not like a job that is specified for men or...
Her journey began with repairing bicycles before gradually progressing to servicing small vehicles and eventually heavy-duty trucks. Today, she's happy. And her clients are satisfied.
I'm really satisfied of the work.
Reflecting on her path, the 30-year-old acknowledges the hurdles she faced, but thanks to the encouragement from her trainer, she is determined and expressed aspirations within her chosen field.
The first time I'm very surprised because she came and said, "You want to learn work for mechanic?" I said, "No, it be possible, but it's strong."
I want to be an engineer in mechanic. That's my dream.
Modest Tomfor admits the physically demanding nature of her work, often resulting in soiled clothes and body, yet she remains steadfast in her commitment to self-care. The female truck repairer sends a resounding message to all the women across the country as they celebrate the International Women's Day this 8 March 2024.
Malaglari reporting there. A non-governmental organization, Amnesty International, has published a report on the working conditions of women who make a living from informal cross-border trade in Southern Africa. Amnesty International highlights abuses against this cross-border trader in Nigeria. Officials say more than 280 Nigerian school pupils have been abducted in northern western town of Kuriga. Fomi Armstrong Sanda tells us more.
Kids were in the assembly ground at around 8:30 when dozens of gunmen on motorcycles rode through the school, witnesses said. They added that the students were taken away along with a teacher. Kidnapped gangs known as bandits have seized hundreds of pupils in recent years, especially in the northwest of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. However, there had been a reduction in mass abduction of children over the past years until this week. Those kidnapped are usually freed after a ransom is paid. The mass abduction was confirmed by Uba Sani, the governor of Kaduna State, which includes Kuriga. He said 187 students had gone missing from a secondary school and 125 from the local primary school, but of that 25 had since returned. The eyewitnesses said that one girl had been shot by the gunmen. A teacher who managed to escape said local people had tried to rescue the children but were repelled by the gunmen and one person was killed. Still in Africa, Amnesty International publishes a report on the working conditions of women who make a living from informal cross-border trade. 4 countries were studied: Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe and South Africa. In Southern Africa, informal cross-border trade estimated at more than $17.5 billion per year is 70% carried out by women who work in very precarious conditions. Harassment, confiscation of property, corruption, the list of difficulties overcome every day by cross-border traders in the informal sector is long. On the road, these women suffer attacks, theft and sexual violence, particularly from the Amagumagumas criminal gangs that are rampant in Zimbabwe. At the borders, these traders are subject to absolute arbitrariness of custom officers, according to Amnesty International's reports.
And now we take this advertorial for this edition of the International Women's Day. EcoBank Cameroon, one of the leading Pan-African banking group, inaugurated the first women-dedicated banking branch in Africa. This branch is an initiative which is in line with the EcoBank Group's strategy to close the gender financing gap as it seeks to help women entrepreneurs to grow. Details in this report.
Edition of the International Women's Day, EcoBank Cameroon, part of the leading Pan-African banking group, opens the very first women-dedicated banking branch in Africa.
Our inaugural women-focused branch symbolizes our contribution towards fostering economic empowerment, equality, and prosperity.
Situated at Reclemencio in Bonanjo-Douala 1 subdivision, this new branch represents a further extension of EcoBank's women empowerment policy. Elevate by EcoBank is an initiative in line with the EcoBank Group's strategy to close the gender financing gap and drive equality by helping women entrepreneurs and business grow.
4 years ago, the EcoBank Group launched Elevate for Women with the view of empowering women financially and making sure that they could access the financial ecosystem. It's very important for sustainability for women to be part of the ecosystem and also contributes to the economic development of the countries in which we function.
Furthermore, Elevate provides a comprehensive package of financial and non-financial solutions to empower and support the growth of women-owned, led or focused businesses.
For us to solve financial inclusion, it requires global action. Everybody has to be involved. So this is really the background why we opened, just to make sure that we can continue to empower women and get them into the financial ecosystem.
With this women-dedicated banking branch, customers benefit from smarter cash management solutions, favorable lending rates, and value-added services such as business and leadership skills training.
I'm so proud and I'm so excited to be a part of this momentous occasion, which will change financial services for women. It's beginning in Cameroon, and this will be reproduced across the continent. I'm very excited about it.
I want to really thank EcoBank for bringing this, and it's going to
really empower women, because there are a lot of women. I work with women and I know the handful of them that are going through some difficulties. I think something like this is going to really empower them and bring development.
For the representative of the government, Professor Marie-Thérèse Abena-Ondwa, Minister of Women's Empowerment and Family, the new branch coincides with the International Women's Day and is on the same path with the Cameroon government's agenda on women's empowerment by enhancing access to finance for women-owned businesses.
Chief Executive Officer of this bank had a genuine idea which goes in line with the theme of this year, because we cannot accelerate the rhythm, we cannot invest in women if they don't have inclusive access to financing. And so this does not just handle women of the high-class society, it deals with those at the grassroots level who are in need, and it is not just money. She's also training them in many other aspects.
EcoBank Elevate program also reinforces their positioning and determination to be the bank of choice for women's businesses. Elevate by EcoBank, created for women-focused businesses.
That's it for the first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Cameroon joins the world to commemorate the 39th edition of the International Women's Day today. Tonight, I'll be receiving a woman, not just any type of woman, but a woman who is making great strides as far as the banking sector is concerned. Tonight, I'll be receiving Gwendoline Abuno. She's the Managing Director of EcoBank Cameroon. Good evening, Gwendoline Abuno. It is a pleasure having you on Talking Point tonight.
Hello, Immaculate. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of one of the leading banking institutions in Africa. Tell us more about yourself. Who is Gwendoline Abuno?
That question always makes me smile. Gwendoline Abuno, I'm a mother of 3 and a banker. I like to give it in that order because I believe that who I am is essentially from my family, and it helps me project into my work. So I'm a mother of 3, been married for 26 years. I love to dance, and I'm the CEO of EcoBank Cameroon and the SEMA cluster.
While ascending the professional ladder, I'm sure you encountered some challenges. How are you able to overcome them?
I definitely encountered a lot of challenges, and I would describe them in twofold. The first one is the personal challenge, where you have to try to get out of the box that the stereotyping of the community has put you into. A woman cannot be a boss. A woman cannot be a boss that is leading men. A woman normally is not a boss of a financial institution. So I had to get myself out of that stereotype just to pump myself up to say a woman can do everything that a man can do, and I can do it properly. On the other hand, the challenges I faced were on the internal front within the institution. It's very difficult to grow out from your peers. I was one of the management committee members. I was the deputy managing director, and I became the managing director. So growing above your peers is very difficult to do because they considered you as one of them, and then now you have to take the lead. I faced a lot of them who were at first a bit reticent about me being the boss now, and I had to win their trust through my performance and my leadership style. So that was a major obstacle for me. But I think it was also something that helped me grow greatly. You also have the challenge of a very tough economic situation in Cameroon, where the competition among the banks is very tough, and you also have competition from the financial, from the fintechs and the telcos. So you have to always be on your feet, always coming up with new strategies, and that on itself was a major obstacle for me.
I know you're very keen to news, and you must have noticed that cases of femicide and rape are now very rampant in our society today. According to the 2023 report published by the Demographic and Health Survey, more than 53% of women are victims of violence. What do you think could be done to reduce the rate at which women are being maltreated in Cameroon?
That violence against women is something that should really have all of our attention, because a woman has to be treated properly, a girl child has to be treated properly, they should feel safe, they should feel secured, and I think it's a responsibility of the community. In my opinion, the government is doing a good job so far, sensitizing and putting in place measures within the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and the Family for the women to know they have a place to go to. But I also believe that the community should encourage women to speak up. We need to listen to somebody who is in that situation, and we need to make them feel safe that they can tell you and you're going to give them support and not criticize them. We also have to educate our social communities, because there are some cultural tendencies that lead to some of the acts that we're seeing right now in the community, and I think that our social community has to really be involved to see how we can push against that. So on my part, I would like to always participate in making sure that women believe that they have a safe place, even within the office, to be able to come and get help if they find themselves in a situation that is harmful to them.
Women tonight are celebrating the 39th edition of the International Women's Day. You were recently honored as the Woman of the Year in the banking and finance sector of the CEMAC sub-region. According to you, what were some of your strengths and what made you stand out among others women in this banking sector?
In my opinion, I think it's the consistency of the results. At the end of the day, whether you're a woman or a man, when you're running an institution, it's about what you deliver, what is the value that you bring on the table. And for the last 7 years, as Managing Director of Ecobank Cameroon and also covering the CEMAC zone, my results, financial results, have increased consistently. I've been able to innovate and come up with a digital transformation strategy that was, I would say, a leader in the banking sector. And that is also one of the strengths that I think they must have considered in giving me this award. And impacting your community is also very critical. I founded the Paragon Women's Association of Ecobank just to inspire the women within the bank to know that they can reach beyond their current levels and attain higher heights. And I've had over 20 women that have gone back to get a first degree or a master's degree or certifications, and have also contributed significantly to investments for themselves. So I believe those are the reasons why I was considered for this award.
Now, you are a boss and you should be a very busy woman. How then are you able to manage your career and your family life?
Work-life balance is very important, and I'm lucky to have had support. You need to have support as a woman boss, as you mentioned, because everything is moving at the same time. Your children need you, your husband needs you, your office needs you, and you cannot put one person behind the other. So a strong support system is very critical. I've had my nanny for the last 25 years, and that gives me stability because she knows the children, she knows our routines, she knows the household. And I have to invest in her too, for her to know that she's making progress by investing in our family. I also count a lot on my parents and my siblings to step in when I'm not there, to help me to meet the needs of my kids in case they have specific needs while I am absent. And I leverage on my social community. I belong to two very strong female groups because sisterhood is important. It's good to have a safe place where I can be Gwen and not the MD. I can go and laugh, I can go and tell jokes, and just also burn out the stress and feel like I would say a normal woman in quotes. So all of those different support systems that I have in place have really been helpful to let me have that work-life balance. And having a spouse that is also supportive and who is a friend makes it easy, because you need to have somebody who can understand that, you know, you're busy, you might not be fully engaged as you should, but he understands why and is able to support you. So I believe that's why I've been able to have this work-life balance that enables me to succeed in what I'm doing professionally.
Gwendolyn Abuno, Managing Director of Ecobank Cameroon, we hope that her success story will be able to go a long way in encouraging a lot of young girls and women in and out of Cameroon. And that's what put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Up next is Equinoxe Soir. Stay with us if you can.